Fallout modders have been busy, and I haven't been super busy covering their work in progress projects, but today we're gonna kind of rectify that. In this video, what I'm gonna be showing you are some of the presently work in progress mods for Fallout 4. These are being done by a variety of mod authors and mod teams. Everything I show you will pretty much be linked down below in the description. And even further, for several of these projects, I'll also link a Discord or some other way you could read more about the mod if you are particularly interested. But without further ado, let's start looking at some of the best and most interesting upcoming mods to Fallout 4. Since the release of Fallout 76, there's certainly been an interest in actually taking certain new features from Fallout 76 and adding them into Fallout 4. We've seen many mods doing this, such as one actually removing all human NPCs, but other ones that are also quite a bit more practical, such as a Hot Wheel mod, so you can easily and quickly select items, and even more recently, some of the legendary effects that were newly introduced in Fallout 76 getting added into Fallout 4. And even though you could download all of those mods right now, one that you can't, but will probably get pretty excited over, is Fallout Appalachia. And in effect, to put it simply, this is an attempt to recreate the world space of Fallout 76 in Fallout 4, except at the time of Fallout 4. And I would say that's the part that makes this mod particularly interesting. If you're not familiar, Fallout 76 is unique in the Fallout franchise as it takes place just 25 years after the bombs drop in 2102. By comparison, Fallout 4 takes place 185 years later in 2287. So although this mod is recreating some of the major components of the world, it also is quite a bit different because it's almost 200 years later. You find Vault 76 in a much more distraught and destroyed manner as compared to how you see it in Fallout 76, but it actually doesn't stop there. After leaving Vault 76, you can see the surrounding region in a similar vein, and you can see this mod author has actually done a really good job at almost one-to-one matching this up. To an extent, it almost looks like it's actually ported from Fallout 76, although he attests that it is not. He has been doing everything himself, and overall, I think this already looks really cool, especially as he shows some of the other interior locations, which also basically look identical to their Fallout 76 counterparts, and I would say this mod has a lot of potential. The post around this mod was only made about a week ago, and the mod author basically details that he's trying to gauge if there's interest in this, if he should continue work on it. And personally, I think yes, and I encourage you guys to check out the post and the video. It would be really cool to see maybe some of the other factions settle into this area, or alternatively, even remnants of some of the Fallout 76 based factions that we don't actually see in that game because they're all dead. But in this version, maybe we do have the Responders 2.0. Either way, I would say what is done so far is extremely interesting, and I'm excited to see where he takes this next. Although totally separate from that first mod, there's another mod author actually working on recreating parts of Fallout 76 and putting them in Fallout 4. A couple of months ago now, I showed you a mod that was a recreation of Vault 76 in Fallout 4. This was a really close recreation, like the two side by side looked really similar. That mod author has actually been really active working on other interior locations. He's posted progress shots of several of the Meyer bunkers you could find in Fallout 76, these typically being held by Free States members. He ended up publishing that mod not too long ago, and now he's actually working on the Enclave bunker, that of course being under White Springs. As of right now, these are two totally separate mods, but either way, both look really interesting. And it is pretty cool that even though not everyone loves Fallout 76, there are several users out there taking some of its good parts and bringing them to Fallout 4. But let's say Fallout 76 isn't really your cup of tea. You're interested more in some of the other Fallout games. Well, there's also modding projects around them that have gotten some pretty big updates, one of which is known as Project Ario. I feel like I probably butchered that. Either way, what this is going to be is a Fallout 2 remaster, or in other words, recreating some of the content from Fallout 2 in Fallout 4's engine. This is of particular interest because naturally Fallout 2 looks like this, while the content being created for Fallout 4 looks like this. As a result of that, that makes this mod a particularly challenging undertaking, but they have been making quite considerable progress, updating us with a variety of images, of which I've been showing you in the background, but even further teaser trailers that do show us exactly what they have done. One of the cool parts about this, if you've actually played Fallout 2 especially, they're trying to do as close a recreation of that as possible, while also adding in details that would kind of make sense if it was created in the current engine. such as some of the foliage you would find around that isn't really present in Fallout 2, but of course also once they get to the point of quests, NPCs, and even gameplay systems, they're trying to take everything from that game and add it into this mod. And as you can see, based on the background of some of the towns and imagery they have shared thus far, it's coming along quite nicely. They also share some of the various assets that have been created for this, and just in general, this is one of those mods I get excited for because we don't really have another option here. The original creators of Fallout 2 are kind of long gone at this point, and I think the likelihood of us getting a 3D remaster from Bethesda is really low. So as a result, all we really have are mod projects like this. They do have several members on this team working quite diligently on this, and if you guys want to get more real-time updates, they do have a subreddit and a Discord. I will have that all linked down below. Although outside of that, we also do have another mod named Peace. What this is going to be is actually a sister mod to another Fallout 4 mod you might have heard about, that being Wars. Wars is aiming to replace all of the weapons in Fallout 4. I've shown you it many times on this channel. Peace is a sister mod to that. This is by the same mod author with the goal of changing other things that aren't weapons. A fairly long withstanding meme around Fallout and really RPGs in general is, well, basically this, having a ton of items and not really any plausible way to hold that all. To some degree, this mod's actually going to address that by changing the encumbrance system. Right now in Fallout 4, the higher your strength, the more you can carry. But with this mod, what it's going to do is make it so your strength is going to enable you to carry more, but you still will need something to carry that. That something is going to be called load-bearing equipment, backpacks, pockets, or pouches. The higher your strength, the more of a benefit you'll actually get from load-bearing equipment, like being able to carry a heavier backpack, but you still need a backpack. This mod's going to add in a range of backpacks that you'll find on NPCs and in shops similar to other backpack mods, but another interesting component that we do see several screenshots of is now several power armor modifications to actually increase the storage of power armor. These look pretty cool, and all around it just seems like this change in particular is going to be quite immersive. Outside of that, he also mentions how if there's a weapon in your hands, it'll no longer count towards your overall carry weight. Same thing with armor that is presently attached, it'll only be 50% of your carry weight, and this is pretty cool. It looks like these changes by themselves will make this a really nice addition if you're going for a more immersive survival playthrough. Even further, there's several other changes planned to come along with Peace, such as stim packs no longer healing your limbs after broken, but rather having to use either Hydra, a chem that will rapidly heal your limbs but naturally is rare, addictive, and kind of just hard to get your hands on, or alternatively what you'll probably have to deal with are medical braces that you equip like an armor piece and they'll slowly heal your limbs over time. As well as the mod author also mentions removing several of the magical legendary effects, things that wouldn't really make sense in Fallout without there having to be magic present. And all around, I actually really like the sound of this one. Even though it's originally described as a sister mod to Wars, this adds in a couple of features that I think I would just want to use even independent of the sister mod. Immersive mods is something I've had a lot of fun with. I don't know of another mod that really overhauls encumbrance in the same way this one plans to, and for that reason, I could see it being a staple on any survival mode playthrough. Then we do have the advanced power armor. What this is going to be is a recreation of the advanced power armor as you saw it from Fallout 2 in Fallout 4, and naturally now is a fully fledged 3D model. This probably looks pretty familiar to you because it is on the cover of Fallout 2, and even if you've never played the game, you probably have seen this cover many times if you're just active in the Fallout community. Even further, in general, the power armor looks awesome. There's actually been kind of a drought of power armor mods. They used to be really popular, but as of late, you don't see too many. Based on these screenshots and even just some of the customization options we can see, this looks very high quality and like it'll be a cool addition to the game, both for those who actually remember it from Fallout 2 and have that whole nostalgia effect going on, and even for everyone else that just thinks it looks like a cool power armor. I actually really like some of the details, like the bolts around the helmet and actually holding those metal pieces in. It looks quite realistic, even compared to some of the other more modern power armors you see in Fallout. One of the big criticisms around Fallout 4, especially at release, was the voiced protagonist. People just weren't a huge fan of hearing your character talk, and they criticized that quite heavily. But what if your character sounded like this?
War never changes.
You're gonna knock him dead at the Veterans Hall tonight, hon.
Sarah Connor, come with me if you want to live.
Absolutely. Now get ready and stop hogging the mirror.
Affirmative.
This is from a work in progress mod known as Talk Like Arnie. Arnie, of course, being Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's a real life actor you probably know from Terminator, Predator. And in effect, the goal of this mod is to replace nearly all of the voice lines in Fallout 4 with one-liners from Arnold Schwarzenegger in his voice. So you have to imagine to some degree this mod is just meant to be more funny than anything, but at the same time, it actually is really well done. There's an 18-minute video up on his channel that I'm showing you in the background. I'll also have a link to it down below. We can actually see the intro sequence of Fallout 4 with this mod, and honestly, if I had to do like my 30th playthrough of this game, this would be a nice way to change things up, to make it feel a little bit more fresh or novel, at least for the first little bit. We also do have the Modern Assassin. This is going to be a new male and female armor being made by Newermind43. I've covered many of his mods in the past, a lot of times on this series, and this looks actually pretty cool. I like these kind of sleek and simple armors. It looks like one of those things that will fit in well with many of the different weapon mods in Fallout 4 and a lot of character builds. But speaking of weapon mods, we also do have the Skorgan Inertia that I 100% butchered and I'm not going to fix. This is actually a pretty old school 20th century shotgun mod that was a semi-automatic shotgun typically used in the early 1900s. Along with these images, we do have some updates that the weapon itself is largely done and there's just some quest design and scripting left to do before we finally get a release of it. And also the fact that it is still being worked on and not totally dead, since it's been a while since the last update. We also do have the FNFAL that is really high quality. We have several images of it that look great, but I would say in particular, some of the gameplay we see of this one is what actually really sells me on how cool or interesting it does look and why it'll make a really good addition to Fallout 4. It looks like when this one comes out, it will be another top tier weapon mod for you to download. But yeah, otherwise that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. A lot of interesting mods I covered in this video. Again, if you want to look more in depth, I will have links down below, and when appropriate, a link to a Discord or a subreddit if you want to read more on some of the modding projects. Either way, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.